ladies and gentlemen, to JWF Monday Night Ignition. I'm your host, Silver Spoon, joined as always by a man who I usually call the Booker, but for the next couple of weeks is just a commentator. It's Captain Tibbs.
You know what, Sills? My position in this company may be diminished, but you're gonna get the same old Tibbs every week until the beginning of next year when I can actually become my full self again. I'm so depressed.
That's right. We, of course, know you losing the ability to control the show back at Crossing the Line to the man known as Scottye Moore, which is why in 2 short weeks, we're going to have a first-time pay-per-view known as Scottye Mania, and he named the show after himself, Tibbs. It is quite a ego boost there, but he has made some amazing matches. We are going to see the one-on-one debut of Big Cyrus Crane. And Tibbs, if you want to talk about the biggest debut match a man can have, he's got it when he is going one-on-one with the JWF champion, Guy Fieri, in a last man standing match with Fieri's title on the line. I mean, there's a world of pressure on the shoulders of Big Cyrus Crane.
Very true, Sills, but also a lot of pressure on Guy Fieri as well, seeing as he did not seem to cut the mustard at Crossing the Line against the JXT champion, Chuck Gibbons. He's got to try to make up for that loss, but he's going to be going up against a powerhouse that I don't know if he's prepared for or not.
That's right. In addition to that, we are going to have an 8-man battle royal that Scottye says is the main event of the show. And you know, Tibbs, usually a main event, and it's got some big stakes to it. But all Scottye's put on the line is the opportunity to fight him at the Regal Rumble. Once again, the ego coming into play of Scottye Moore, thinking a match with him is bigger than the JWF Championship, bigger than anything.
Now, Sills, I've been thinking about this, and on the other side of that coin, it could be the perfect opportunity for some certain captain to try to enter on his own, and maybe if he won it, he could get a chance to get his win back. But that's crazy, because my back is literally non-functional.
That's right, but right now we are going to find out what another one of those matches are going to be, and a #1 Contenders match as the team known as the VWO, last year's Tag Team of the Year, take on the Wild-Eyed Southern Boys. And Tibbs, you know the history between the VWO and the Wild-Eyed Southern Boys, and I gotta say, up until recently, the VWO never really managed to get the advantage over the team of Houston Longhorn and, of course, Sam Adams, the American Beer Man.
Yeah, some would even say that the downfall, the current situation that the VWO was in until very recently, floundering somewhere in between Tag Team Gold and anything else in the company, was caused by their feud with the Wild-Eyed Southern Boys earlier this year.
That's right, and you can hear that bell going ding, and ooh, look at this big collar and elbow tie-up to start off the match. Houston Longhorn locking horns with the man known as Griffin Clouds, this year's King of the Steel City. Griffin has had a banner year, but ooh, big headlock takedown from Houston, just wrestles Griffin down to the mat. Now, of course, we know on JXT Wrestling, Houston Longhorn has been going up against their champion, Chuck Gibbons, who, of course, is known for a technical style, and it looks like Houston has learned from that as he is just bringing some technical punishment to this year's King of the Steel City.
It is a very interesting development, Sills, especially knowing that Griffin Clouds, he is more of a planner, a thinker. When you're wrestled down to the mat like this, it's got to take a quick wit and a clever comeback to get out of a situation like Griffin Clouds right now.
That's right, and you can see Griffin getting back to his feet, trying to get out of that headlock, but ooh, getting shot off the ropes, and Houston once again taking him down into a headlock. Very experienced technician here in the form of Houston Longhorn. He's trying to dictate the pace. I gotta ask you this, what advice could you give Griffin right now? What advice would you give Griffin going against this experienced grappler in the form of Houston Longhorn?
essentially, Sills, you can't try to fight out of it too much. You can't let him put too much pressure on you. You got to look and you got to search for a single opportunity where he's not going to be holding on as quickly, where you could try to actually work your way around the hold and essentially maneuver yourself out of it.
That's right, but wait a minute, look at this. Griffin getting back up, but this time no longer being allowed to be put into the ropes. Instead, using his own power, which we know Griffin, he's not usually seen as a strong force, but he certainly has strength in that ring, backing Houston up into the corner, and just sending shoulders into the gut, forcing Houston to release that hold before sending him across the ring and catching him with a massive running knee, and follows it up with a big bulldog. Massive flurry of offense, but you can see Griffin still on the ground. Griffin not being able to capitalize, being forced to crawl over to his brother Justin. Oh, and he gets the tag, and look at this, Justin Clouds, the powerhouse of the VWO, in like a house of fire. Oh, big shot to Houston, then a second to Sam Adams, knocking him off the apron. Justin Clouds has taken out the wild-eyed Southern Boys, and Tibbs, we may have an early end to this match right now.
That was a perfect tag team combination by the VWO right there, Sills. You saw how the Wild-Eyed Southern Boys were just completely unprepared for the assault that Justin Clouds laid out on them. It was just because of that hot tag. You have no time to react.
That's right. Now look at this. Dragging the body of Houston Longhorn into the corner, tagging in Griffin, but Justin doesn't leave the ring. He's picking him up for that cumulonimbus powerbomb, and look at this. We saw this at Crossing the Line. Griffin going to the top rope for a massive elbow drop. Ooh, straight to the heart. Goes for the pinfall. 1, 2, ooh, Sam Adams breaking up the pin at the last minute, but look at this. Griffin immediately taking it to him as Justin goes after Houston Longhorn. This is just chaos in the ring right now.
Sills, you gotta watch out. The VWO might have the upper hand right now, but this is where the Wild-Eyed Southern Boys shine.
That's right. We, of course, remember their epic bar brawl match earlier this year. When it comes to the Wild-Eyed Southern Boys, let me tell you something. You want to keep a normal wrestling match. You do not want to try to get into a brawl with these boys. But, ooh, looks like Griffin dropping Sam Adams with a big neck breaker, and now just going after Houston Longhorn, once again keeping them separated. A very wise move from the VWO. They see the type of dominance that the Wild-Eyed Southern Boys can lay on them when they're in that ring together. Keeping them separated, I think, is the best technique the VWO can pull right now.
That is right, Sills. If you keep them separated, you have such a higher chance of beating them. You gotta keep them apart from one another to give yourself the best odds of getting in the win.
That's right. Now look at these. Taking him into the corner. Beautiful series of European uppercuts from Griffin, sending Sam into the center of the ring before tagging in Justin, going up to the top rope. And I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's actually Houston Longhorn in the center. And look at this, Justin going up to the top rope, a place we rarely see him. But, ooh, hits a big splash. 1, 2, ooh, once again. Houston Longhorn kicking out, but I do not know how much Longhorn has in him.
I don't know, Sills. It doesn't look like he'll be able to stand up to anything else, maybe like this.
That's right, but backs him into the ropes. But, oh, wait a minute, Sam Adams with a sneak tag. I don't think Justin realizes that he got that tag as Houston, oh, hits him with a big kick. And Sam Adams gets in the ring and just goes to town. Big Luthez press, raining shots down onto the skull. And Tibbs, Sam Adams is fresh. Both members of the VWO, they've been in and out. Sam Adams has not done anything in this match so far, and I think that's going to give him a big advantage right now.
That's right, Sills. He's running on all cylinders right now, and the VWO look like they might be in trouble.
That's right, takes him into the turnbuckle, but look at that, Griffin with a sneak tag of his own, goes for a big running splash as Sam Adams, but Justin catches him, flips him upside down. Could we see it? Griffin Clouds off the ropes, under vapor, straight to the mat, goes for the pinfall. 1, 2, 3, and just like that, the VWO, with what I consider to be an absolutely dominant display against the Wild-Eyed Southern Boys, and securing their spot as the #1 contenders to the JWF Tag Team Championships.
And it was the VWO's tag team acumen, their excellence in tag team maneuvers that got them there, which is exactly why they need to be #1 contenders, Sills.
That's right, and this is an absolute dream match. The VWO going up against the Rising Suns, their own flesh and blood, in the form of the Hammerman and his tag team partner, Fomosan. People have been waiting to see this showdown for years. And Tibbs. I didn't think he'd come out in segment 1 again, but it looks like Scottye Moore's here.
Sills, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not surprised.
Ladies and gentlemen, your winners and new #1 contenders to the JWF Tag Team Championships, the VWO. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, it has finally happened. We're dusting off the old dream match shelf and bringing one right to you at the greatest pay-per-view of all time, Scottye Mania. That's right, Rising Suns versus the VWO. One of the greatest teams in JWF history will put the pedal to the metal and take on the young upstarts, their own flesh and blood, in the form of the Rising Suns. But that's not enough. No, you see, this isn't a match about championship gold. No, this is a match about family. This is a match about blood. So, for the first time in JWF history, 2 teams will step into that ring in a match with no rules, no DQs, no pinfalls, no submissions, and all brutality. Because the VWO are about to face off against their own brothers in a first blood match.
Tibbs? What the hell? I mean, Scottye Moore announcing a first blood match between the VWO and their own brothers. I mean, I know that Griffin and Justin have been waiting to face off against the Hammerman and Fomosan. They have been waiting to see which member of the Clouds family is best when it comes to tag team wrestling, but I don't think they want to do it in a damn first blood match.
Well, Sills, as the booker, Scottye Moore has complete and utter authority to make the match any stipulation that he chooses. And, listen, we all get it. We get where this is going, Sills. Putting family against family until you draw blood. Something that any willing family member is not going to want to do. It's Scottye Moore Tactic 101.
That's right. Of course, we all know the first blood match. As Scottye said, you can't win by pinfall. You can't win by submission. You have to beat down your opponent to a point where you actually draw blood, to where their face becomes a crimson mask. And let me tell you something right now. I don't think any member of the Clouds family is prepared to do that to one of their brothers, which is why I gotta say, I think because the Rising Suns have Fomosan, someone who, of course, did not grow up in the Clouds family there, I think FOMO's going to be the only person there who's going to be willing to do what it takes to retain those titles.
It might be true, Sills. As for the rest of the Cloud Clan, they got 2 weeks to figure it out.
That's right, but of course, we do have another match announced for that show, as Blake Tanner, our captain's champion, will be forced to defend his title against the Nightmare, Gozzie. And of course, we all remember it crossing the line. Both Gozzie and Blake Tanner unsuccessful in their matches, which means both of these men have something to prove. But in my opinion, I think Blake Tanner's got a little something else.
Very true, Sills. Especially Blake Tanner, of course, since he won the JWF Captain's Championship, he really hasn't proven himself as someone that I would say is worthy of currently holding the JWF Captain's Championship.
That's right. In addition, we of course remember last week when Scottye Moore came to Blake, when Scottye Moore gave him this match, he said one word, one phrase, and one phrase only: stomp his head into the mat. And let me tell you something. We know Gozzie and Scottye, they were thick as thieves for the longest time. But when Gozzie failed Scottye at crossing the line, I have to assume that he considered something that he could write off, and he gave Blake Tanner an ultimatum: destroy Gozzie at crossing the line. And you know Gozzie was listening to that. You know Gozzie couldn't have reacted well to that.
Absolutely not, Sills. Of course, you gotta wonder if this is just another tactic by Scottye Moore to try to drive Gozzie to beating Blake Tanner, or if he really wants to replace Gozzie.
That is right, but the Nightmare is backstage right now, and we've got one of our top interviewers to find out how he's reacted to this title match announcement. So why don't we hear what Little Evil has to say?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Honeypot McShawarma here with the man who Scottye Moore announced to be facing Blake Tanner for the JWF Captain's Championship in just a few weeks. The Nightmare himself, Gozzie. Now, Gozzie, how did it feel to get announced for this phenomenal encounter?
Honeypot, don't play dumb. We both know what this is. It's not just a match. It's meant to be punishment, Honeypot. I failed in my mission at crossing the line, and now Scottye wants me to be punished, and he's sending his best soldier out to do it. Stomp his head into the mat, I believe is the direct quote, because Scottye apparently doesn't think I watched the show and wouldn't have heard that. Well, unfortunately for Blake, he's not going to get that luxury. I'm going to systematically rip him apart piece by piece. I'm going to break his arm, and I'm going to take that championship from him. I'm going to make Scottye Moore realize just exactly who he's turned against. I'm going to prove to him, and I'm going to prove to the entire JWF and the entire world why I am called the Nightmare. I'm going to hurt Blake Tanner in every way I can come up with. I'm going to hurt Blake Tanner's very soul. I will make Scottye Moore believe in Gozzie again. And when he does, I'm going to use that iron dagger and stab straight into Scottye Moore's heart. Scottye Moore is going to learn that when a god is angry with you, he punishes you. But when the devil's angry with you, he will consume you.
Well, strong words coming there from Little Evil himself, Gozzie. Tibbs, he has said that it doesn't matter what Scottye Moore has said. It doesn't matter what Blake Tanner's going to do. He is going to bring the Nightmare into the brain of Blake Tanner himself, wreck him, destroy him, consume him, and become the brand new Captain's Champion. And I think if you're Blake Tanner backstage, you got to be nervous after hearing that.
Very true, Sills. It looks like the public announcement of this match really has gotten to Gozzie in a very dark way.
That's right, but if you want to talk about someone who is dealing with darkness right now, why don't we talk about the man known as Lawrence Whitney, a manager, Tibbs. He is a manager of the team who were formerly known as the Blockbusters, the Bone Crusher, and Titan. But as Scottye Moore announced last week, he's out of the group. No more Lawrence Whitney because they are no longer the Bone Crushers. They are Legion. And they let me tell you something. I hate to say it about Lawrence. I think they upgraded when they got rid of Lawrence and instead the domineering beast, the demon known as Craak, came out and aligned himself with his former JXT stablemates. And then Scottye Moore announced that Lawrence Whitney is going to be stepping into a JWF ring for the first time ever, not as a manager, but as a wrestler when he takes on Legion in a 1-on-3 handicap match. And Tibbs, let me tell you something. Lawrence Whitney, we've not always had the best opinion of him, but this is overkill.
Absolutely. This is not how you settle your differences in the ring. 3-on-1, like with a tag team, a stable that is honestly as terrifying with as much raw, pure talent as Legion right now. But it seems like Legion, they blame all of their difficulties, especially with the Blockbusters in JWF, all of their failures on Lawrence Whitney, and they all want their own bit of comeuppance.
That's right, Legion seeking their own pound of flesh from the man known as Lawrence Whitney. But for right now, we do have a debut when the Beast Craak is going to be taking on the man known as Danny Roanoke, a man who we have not seen since his Heck in a Second counter with the man known as Hollywood Hulcher. And Tibbs, do you think a little bit of ring rust might be there for Danny, or let's be even more honest, do you think he's in there with a massive demon that might take him down?
A little bit of column A, Sills, a little bit of column B. I would definitely be more worried about the demon so much that other than a little bit of roughness in my technique. But to each his own. Danny Roanoke, he's a perfectionist, so who knows?
That's right, but that bell goes ding, and ooh, look at this, Danny immediately grabbing Craak in a headlock. And that's the thing about Danny Roanoke. He can play mind games with the best of them, and I think getting that first shot in, getting that first headlock on Craak is a smart move. It's also keeping the Beast grounded, keeping him in place, and look as Danny's just wrenching on it, but oh my God, look at the face of Craak. Craak is actually smiling. That maniac is smiling at this offense from Danny Roanoke.
Oh, yeah, Sills, it looks like this is doing nothing to Craak right now. Danny is wrenching at him with all he's got, but Craak is something else.
That's right. Now look at this, just popping Roanoke up in the air, and oh my God, cracking him across the jaw with a massive elbow. Oh my God, to Tibbs, that wasn't just the offense of the elbow, that was also gravity as Danny fell back to the earth. And ooh, now look at this, just stomping down onto every single part of his body. The monster known as Craak is just trying to decimate Danny Roanoke.
Oh, and he is doing a good job of it right now, Sills. I don't know what Danny's a technical mastermind, a great teacher in his own right, as some would say, but Roanoke is not prepared for just the pure brutality that Craak is unleashing.
That's right, but oh, look at that. Danny with a big kick, sending Craak back, and Danny is fighting back. Danny fighting back with big kicks, big elbow strikes, but ooh, gets stopped as Craak grabs him by the throat, and look at the manic stare of Craak as he picks him up, and oh, massive choke slam down into the mat. And now, oh my God, just slamming Roanoke's body up and down, holding onto the throat. This man has to be knocked out.
Yeah, still, this is a completely unconscionable. This is purely a horrible sight to see, and I'm hating that this is on my show.
That's right. Now look at this, just holding Danny down by the throat for the pin. 1, 2, 3. And Tibbs, let me tell you something. You could count to 1,000,000 right there, and Roanoke would not be kicking out of that. That abomination just absolutely decimated him.
So he completely knocked him out. Danny Roanoke might have a concussion. Who knows what has happened to him in this ring? We're gonna have to get medical professionals out here.
That's right, and you can see, look at that, Hollywood Hulcher, a man who used to feud with Danny Roanoke, but of course they earned respect through their Best of 7 series. Hollywood Hulcher coming out to check on Danny Roanoke as our medics come out to the ring. And Tibbs, I'm worried about Lawrence Whitney right now. We, of course, know he's a manager. He is not a professional wrestler, and for his first match, he's not stepping into the ring with Craak. He's not stepping in the ring with Titan. He's not stepping in the ring with Bone Crusher. He's stepping in there against all 3 of those men at Scottye Mania. This is preposterous.
Absolutely, Sills. This is not entertainment. This is not going to be a good wrestling match. This is just punishment, Sills. That's the thing right now. This is not something meant to be on a show where you're supposed to get people to watch it, Sills. This is punishment. This is a public execution. And those went out of style a long time ago.
That is right. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I'm getting news backstage that one of our top interviewers have tracked down the team known as the Rising Suns, asking them how they're going to react to this first blood stipulation Scotty Moore has put upon them. So why don't we go have a listen what the Rising Suns have to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dad McDonald backstage here with our JWF and JXT Tag Team Champions, the men known as the Rising Suns. Now, boys, having to defend your titles both in JWF and JXT, it has to have been hard on you, but I'm sure nothing can be as difficult as being forced to face your own brethren in the VWO in the JWF's first ever First Blood match. How do you react to being given this unique stipulation?
I think the Hammerman needs to be the one to answer this.
Of course. Hammerman being the actual flesh and blood, the brother of the VWO. I'm sure you have a lot to say regarding this stipulation.
It's everything I've ever wanted. My best friend, my brothers, and myself stepping into the ring to prove once and for all who is the greatest tag team between us.
Scottye Moore was not lying earlier when he said this was a dream match. Ever since I set out on my own and grabbed these titles, I knew this day would come. I knew one day I'd be staring across the ring from my own flesh and blood, and I was excited. I was enthralled, and Scottye Moore, much like he always does, has taken my dream match and turned it into a nightmare, forcing me not to out-wrestle my brothers, not to outpower my brothers, but to bludgeon them with everything I have, to destroy them and wreck them until blood pours from their faces. That's just what Scottye Moore wanted, to see the VWO implode. Well, I'll tell you right now, we won't let it. Despite this, however, we accept the stipulation, as I'm sure my brothers have, because I know they want their hands on these tag titles, and we want to prove ourselves as fighting champions. We never refuse a fight. So at Scottye Mania, it'll be more than a family feud. It will be a war between brothers. Blood will spill, this gold will shine, and we will find out who the greatest tag team in the VWO is. But if Scottye Moore thinks this is how he'll destroy the Clouds family, he's got another thing coming. Because my brothers have spilled my blood before. I've spilled theirs, and hell, we went out for Applebee's that very same night. Our bond is stronger than blood. Our bond is golden. And at Scottye Mania, we're gonna prove that this first blood match is only temporary, but the VWO is forever.
Well, strong words there from the Hammerman heading into this match, and it looks like both teams have accepted this stipulation, no matter how gruesome it may prove to be. And let me tell you something, I know Hammerman's speaking strongly now, speaking from the heart, but I have been in these kind of matches before, these kind of brutalistic matches, and I know what they can do to a man. And I gotta say, I'm nervous for both teams coming out of it.
And that's understandable, Sills. Of course you'd be nervous, especially knowing that this is something you're gonna have to do to your own family, but honestly, Sills, VWO, those guys are pretty freaky on their own right, Sills. And I would not be surprised if the Hammerman has not accidentally just bodied one of his brothers into bleeding more than once. So that might be something he's more used to.
That's right, but with that match announced, we now have a full card for Scottye Mania. Rising Suns versus VWO, Blake Tanner versus Gozzie, Lawrence Whitney versus all of Legion, and of course that big battle royal where I'm sorry, Tibbs, I thought this was the end of the show, but it looks like Chuck Tibbs, your son, is coming out to the ring. Tibbs, what in the world's your son doing?
I don't know, Sills, but I will say it's very nice for Tibbs to have a voice on this show right now, so let's hear what he's got to say.
Okay, all right, hold on. No, we can't let it end like this. We can't do this. I'm sorry, everybody, but come on. I mean, where do I even begin with this bullshit? I mean, honestly, this show in only 2 weeks has started to become a complete and utter farce. It's not real life anymore. What? Scottye Moore's ego has poisoned this show so much that his big dumb head has named his own pay-per-view after himself. He has used each and every individual match that he has booked to punish everyone who has ever stood against him. And he's gonna use the main event to once again glorify not wrestling, not the JWF, not our championships, but his own damn name. And it's all to see who fights him. What? Listen, everybody, I just came out here because I'm gonna warn each and every single one of you fighting for that opportunity. Yeah, he ain't that great. It's not gonna be what you expect, and it's not the greatest thing you ever won in a wrestling match. I've wrestled him a couple times myself, and believe me, I wouldn't recommend it. Maybe 2 out of 5 stars, honestly. You know, some of that was my problem, but honestly, really, come on. After all of this, a few weeks ago, Scottye Moore started his war against this company, and I left, and I screwed up. Okay? I left because I was afraid. I left because I didn't think I could get the job done. But now that Scottye Moore has won, and now that he's come out and shown exactly what kind of general manager he is, now that he's put all his cards on the table, we all see who he really is. We all see him for what he really is now, right? A parody. A pale, sad simulacrum of what a bad guy is supposed to be. You know, he's not here to make the company better. He's only here to feed his...
Oh, Tibbs, listen to that. The music of Scottye Moore. And look at that. Scottye coming out to ringside, and he certainly does not seem pleased with what Chuck Tibbs is saying.
Whoa. Where is all this hostility coming from? Chuck, I honestly, I can't believe you'd say this. I am not here trying to fulfill my own selfish needs. I mean, come on, I'm not even wrestling at the pay-per-view. I am giving opportunities to all the other poor souls that need that airtime. It's not Scottye Moore challenging for the JWF title. Hell, I could have made the card me taking on the JWF championship, me taking on for the captain's championship. I could have won every title if I wanted to. But instead, I'm just going to be doing commentary. But still, listen, I'm doing all of this because I'm here to help you. I'm here to save you. I am the hero of the JWF. And Chuck, I take that name very seriously. I mean, I know how good you are in the ring. I have faced you numerous times, and because of that, I put you in the main event of the show alongside other true stars of your caliber like Rat Boy Connor or Honey Mustard Jenkins. They're just like you. You see, this main event is a match for stars. But I understand you've got a gripe with me, and if you'd like, I mean, I'm still finalizing everything, and I can take you out of the Battle Royal, take you off the show if you'd like a night off. In fact, here, I've got the clipboard right here. I'll just X out Chuck Tibbs.
No, stop right there. You listen here, you son of a bitch. If there's anything I've learned over the last couple months, it's that you can't fix a problem by running away. Chuck Tibbs ain't taking his ball and going home anymore. No, Chuck Tibbs is gonna show up at this little pay-per-view, and he's gonna fix the Scottye Moore problem by doing what he does best, and that is wrestle. You know what? I have been wondering for a long time who Chuck Tibbs truly is. I've gotten lost in it. I thought I'm only the son of a historic promoter. Am I worthy enough to be a champion? Can I do all of these things? And so many of those thoughts, they built into my head. All that bullshit flying in my face. I realized I forgot why I came here in the first place. Deep down, Chuck Tibbs isn't any of those things. Chuck Tibbs is one thing, and that's one thing I do best. I'm a wrestler. And at Scottye Mania, I'm gonna do exactly that.
Well, Tibbs, it looks like your boy, he may not agree with the show, but he is going to bring a fight at Scottye Mania. And let me tell you something, if he wins that Battle Royal, things do not look good for the future of Scottye Moore.
Yeah, Sills, I love it. This is going to be great. Fight the power. Down with the establishment. Break down the walls. Return everything. Return the book to the people. And then to me.
That is right, Tibbs. But of course, we still have one episode of JWF Ignition to get through before we get to Scottye Mania. And next week, it's going to be a loaded card. We're going to hear from both of our champions, Blake Tanner and Guy Fieri, both returning to address their challengers ahead of Scottye Mania. And we have not heard from Guy Fieri in quite a long time. I mean, last week he came out, confronted Scottye Moore, but ever since he heard he was going to be facing Cyrus Crane in a last man standing match, Guy Fieri has gone radio silent.
And Sills, this is going to be a great opportunity when he comes back to really get an idea of where Guy Fieri is in his head. You've got to think that he is not in a great place right now, so him finally coming out and talking about it, it means that he's reached some sort of conclusion.
That's right. In addition, we are going to be hearing from Lawrence Whitney for the first time ever since the debut of Craak in this company. And if I was Lawrence Whitney, I think that promo would be 2 words: I quit. Because I think he is headed for devastation at Scottye Mania, and at this point, I think it'd be easier to take the ball and go home than anything else.
Sills, honestly, I would agree with you in this context, and normally I don't advocate for that, but this is an unfair match, and this is not worth potentially becoming extremely badly injured for.
That's right. But until then, if you need some ways to bide your time, some stuff to hold you over until the next episode of JWF Ignition, why don't you go to patreon.com/a-load-of-BS. Just give $5, the price of a cup of coffee, and it'll get you access to Wrestling History X, where we take deep dives into the history of professional wrestling, and you get older episodes of JWF Monday Night Ignition and our exclusive Discord where we hang out, chat wrestling, and all that, and it's available at patreon.com/a-load-of-BS.
Make sure to support us. If you love the JWF and all of our great wrestlers, give something back to them.
That's right. In addition, pick up merchandise for your favorite superstars at merch.aloadofpurebs.com. We got stuff for Chuck, Tibbs, for the Rising Suns. It's all available for you there at merch.aloadofpurebs.com. But until next time, he's been Captain Tibbs, I've been Silver Spoon, and this has been JWF Monday Night Ignition, and we will see you next time.